Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to our May 19th meeting. What a beautiful day it is outside, and hope everyone had a great long weekend. It's the 19th meeting of the 146th Council of the Corporation of the City of St. Thomas. Are there any disclosures of interest from any of the members? Councillor Baldwin-Sands.
Thank you. There are two items, PD 35-26 in the report, and then bylaw number 6.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Remind me again as we go, because I may wander on without knowing. Any other disclosures of interest? Seeing none, we're on with the minutes.
Thank you, Your Worship. The first item tonight are the minutes from the May 11th meeting, that the minutes of the meeting held on May 11th, 2026 be confirmed. Moved by Councillor Reimel, seconded by Councillor Gibson.
Questions or comments on the minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor? Are there any opposed? Carried. Councillor Taylor is online with us tonight. Earl, just wave when you're on, because I will miss that too, because I'm out looking over the screen. Next.
Thank you, Your Worship. Council will now resolve itself into the Committee of the Whole to deal with the following business. There are 3 committees with business tonight. The first one is Strategic Direction and Development. We have an unfinished business item regarding follow-up report 21 Phillip Street, clarification to temporary use bylaw. And a motion that reads that report PD 3526 relating to the follow-up report 21 Phillip Street, clarification on temporary use bylaw be received for information. And further, that council approve the site-specific draft temporary use bylaw to zoning bylaw 50-88 to permit the provision of backyard swimming lessons as a home occupation on lands which may be described as Lot 26 on Registered Plan 286, City of St. Thomas. Moved by Councillor Reimel, seconded by Councillor Herbert.
Questions or comments, or Michelle, did you want to add first?
So through Your Worship, so the intent of the report, it's some response to the letter that was submitted, and also it just some further clarification. The primary intent of the revision to the bylaw was just further clarification that only one lesson could run simultaneously, because there was a little bit of ambiguity in the wording talking about 3 students per lesson. But when there's potentially multiple residents within the home who could conduct lessons, that could potentially lead to multiple lessons running simultaneously. So the intention was to scope it, refine the bylaw to better reflect my understanding of what council's intention was. So it would be a maximum of 3 students in the pool or on the property at any time.
Super. Councillor Kohler?
Thanks, Your Worship. Through you to Michelle. And the financial application just talks about the only cost is what the city incurred for providing notices, I'm assuming for the public meetings and everything like that. But I thought there was a fee for this. I got $1,500 that I thought we ended up that they had to pay.
So through Your Worship, that was for the official plan and zoning bylaw amendment submissions back in the fall. Those applications were formally refused with the direction for staff to prepare the temporary use bylaw. So the temporary use bylaw application is technically city initiated, though it sort of draws from that previous application, just because it's for that temporary use bylaw.
Okay. Further questions or comments on the report? Seeing none, all those in favor? Are there any opposed? That's carried.
Thank you, Your Worship. Next item is under new business relating to 2026 Association of Municipalities of Ontario, AMO, delegation requests. And a motion that reads report CMO 3926 relating to the 2026 AMO delegation request be received for information. And further, that proposed delegation requests for the 2026 Association of Municipalities of Ontario conference as outlined in report CMO 3926 be approved for submission. And further, that members of council be invited to provide any additional delegation requests or advocacy priorities for consideration prior to the submission deadline. Moved by Councillor Clark, seconded by Councillor Gibson.
Questions or comments? Councillor Baldwin-Sands?
I do have an item of advocacy. It's the same one I asked for. It's with the Ministry of Sport, Recreation and Leisure with Minister Lumsden in order to advocate for the OSIF funding, number 1, and number 2, making sure that we have something on paper, hopefully crossing our fingers that we can, before AMO for something for the community center aquatic facility that we are currently working on. Thank you.
Councillor Clark?
Thank you, Your Worship. I would like to add one with the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing. As you know, St. Thomas is like a lot of communities across the province that are seeing growing needs for senior housing. And I know we've got a project underway right now, but it's the difficulty is that it's hit and miss, and we don't have accessible, safe, affordable, appropriate housing on a constant, steady stream, where we can plan for it. And that's because we don't have a segregated or consistent stream of funding for projects like that at this time. And so I'd like to reach out to our local minister and try and let him know about the need for a segregated funding stream so that we can plan for the growth that we need in senior housing. If you look at the demographics, just because of the bulge in the population and the number of people that are living longer and staying longer in their own homes, we need to supply a greater number of not only affordable housing, but also supportive housing. And so I'd like to broach that subject with him. Also, and it kind of ties back to the first ministry, which is the Ministry of Long-Term Care, because there's a shortage of senior housing. We also have a shortage of beds in that ministry, and so it's a chicken and egg kind of thing. If people don't have, if the government wants us to stay in our homes longer and not provide dollars for long-term care, then we need the funding through housing projects. But I think also, just because of the bulge, we also need to look at long-term beds. St. Thomas has not had an increase in those beds since, I would say, since Valley View originally opened. And with the large number of people expected to come into St. Thomas and Elgin County over the next few years, I think we really need to start to work on the ministry for more beds at Valley View as well. Thank you.
Okay. Other further suggestions? Councillor Herbert?
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm just going to follow up on Councillor Clark. Would it be a good time to look at capital budget, expanding the building to make, or does that, when you ask for more beds, so that means you need a bigger building?
I would assume that's the
There's
only
gotta be
way to put
something.
more bids in that building.
No, that's fine. No, fine. Thank you.
Happy to speak to the minister on it. Councillor Wookie?
Thanks, Your Worship. I don't know if this is an AMO thing or this can be done outside of AMO, but I heard my colleagues say they had a great meeting with the Thames Valley School Board administration. And kind of, I see in our plan for our community center, there's not an auditorium, performance auditorium that's planned for that. That's not in any of the plans. Fair enough. But I think that if we could work with the Towns Valley Board, and if they create a high school for 700 people and there's a 700 person auditorium, and we could put in some capital funding, they use it during the week, we use it other times, we could have like an outstanding performance center, because obviously the schools are using it during the day and some evenings and weekends, and we could use it otherwise. So I don't know, and I'll leave that to the administration and to the leadership to say, what's the best pathway to talk to that directly at Thames Valley thing? Well, of course, Thames Valley is under control of the province of Ontario. So I think that in fact, talking to the Minister of Education would be an outstanding idea in that regard. Like, and in general, like how open are they to what this new high school is going to look like? Like when they say they want to collaborate, like, do we actually mean that? Would the province invite that? Bill Tucker might, but the province might not. So I'll leave it with the leadership team to pare that down, and perhaps that's a discussion for the ministry at AMO, or maybe that's a friendly sidebar conversation with other friends we have there. Thank you.
I agree, Councillor Wookie, and since the meeting of last week with the one before with the Thames Valley School Board and their, gracious offer to use their facilities with us more often, well, you hit on one that is absolutely obvious. Every school has a big auditorium. Well, why are we not using that more as a civic functional place for plays and other concerts? So we're going to try and hold them to what they've said. And if we can hold them through the Minister of Education, we'll do that too. But as you say, Mr. Tucker's being real good right now, but let's also talk to the minister and see if he's saying the same thing. Taxpayer built the schools. Taxpayers of St. Thomas should get to use them in the hours that the school is not using them. Councillor Herbert.
Sorry, which I should have asked before. Who do we contact if we're interested in attending? I see the deadline's May 21st. Do we count you, Lisa?
Yeah, I think Jennifer has already put out an ask and received, and so I don't know who's on the list. I think Gary is and Joan is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Further, yes. Mr. Clerk.
Thank you, Your Worship. If it is council's will to include additional advocacy items, just remind council that we'll need an amended motion for that to include a paragraph to specifically identify what the new advocacy items are going to be to refer to staff. So I've made note of those and can craft an amending motion for council should they wish to formally include those.
Super, and I think we should. I do know as a fact that we also already have an ongoing advocacy document that may include some of what was just already mentioned too. And if it doesn't, we'll make sure that it does, because these are new items, but we have an ongoing advocacy item for whenever we meet with ministers, it's already there. So I know that Taylor has that kind of as an ongoing document. Okay, did you catch what we offered as new?
I believe so, Your Worship. If I may propose something to council, it would be an amending motion that would go between the second and third paragraphs as of current to include the following, that the following advocacy items be added and referred to staff, additional OSIF funding, community center aquatic facility funding, the need for funding for senior housing and long-term care spaces, and collaborative spaces between the city and school boards for mutual use. I'll need a mover and seconder. Moved by Councillor Gibson, seconded by Councillor Clark.
Okay. Any further comment on the additions? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
Thank you, Your Worship. So now I have to include the amendment into the full amended motion, which would now read that report CMO 3926 relating to the 2026 AMO delegation request be received for information, and further that the proposed delegation request for the 2026 Association of Municipalities Ontario Conference as outlined in report CMO 3926 be approved for submission, and further that the following advocacy items be added and referred to staff: additional OSIF funding, community center aquatic facility funding, need for funding for senior housing and long-term care spaces, and collaborative spaces between the city and school boards for mutual use, and that members of council be invited to provide any additional delegation requests or advocacy priorities for consideration prior to submission deadline. This has been moved by Councillor Clark, seconded by Councillor Gibson, Your Worship.
All right. Questions or comments further to that? Seeing none, all those in favor? Are there any opposed? Carried.
Thank you, Your Worship. The next item tonight is Community Improvement Plan Project Walnut Park Incorporated, 65 Walnut Street, and a motion that reads, report PD 2826 relating to a community improvement project by Walnut Park Incorporated for 65 Walnut Street be received for information, and further that council approve a residential grant, development charge grant, tax increment grant, and planning and building fees grant for application 2026-160 as submitted by Walnut Park Inc. for 65 Walnut Street. Moved by Councillor Reimel, seconded by Councillor Herbert.
Questions or comments on the CIP grant? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
Thank you, Your Worship. The next item tonight is a Community Improvement Program 2025 summary. A motion that reads that report PD 3126 relating to the Community Improvement Program 2025 summary be received for information. Moved by Councillor Taylor, seconded by Councillor Baldwin Sands.
Questions or comments on the report? This is a fairly extensive report of the things that have been accomplished by 9 community improvement plan projects, I guess so far this year, 2025. So further questions or comments? I just love the first one. It stands out pretty big. 55 new residential units are created because of the contributions of our community improvement grants. When we're in a housing crisis, it's great to see that much work happening in a time when we can actually do something with it. So perfect. Further questions or comments? Councillor Herbert?
Thank you. It's a great report, and being on the CIP committee with your worship, it goes to show you how busy we are approving these projects and getting them going. And there's a lot of things going on, as you can see, all around the city, and not just Talbot Street, but around the city. So it's great to see this. We support this and keep it coming. So anyway, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Clark?
Just wondering if we've seen any gaps or had any types of requests that presently we don't accommodate because of our structure, and whether or not widening some of the acceptable projects would take those in, and whether or not we've used all the money, and whether or not we need to expand the program.
Well, I'll turn to the treasurer. I know that this can be very costly. There's some fairly large asks in our community improvement plan. Have we ever nudged the edge of it in a given year? Is this a normal place for us?
Thank you, Your Worship. Normally, we do underspend our budgeted allocation for each given year, which is about $1 million cumulatively. We do take those excess funds and store them in a reserve. There's currently 1.3 million in that reserve.
So if we wanted to do what Councillor Clark is asking, there'd be a little room to do that. I think I'll ask Lou to tell us, is there a place where we're poking the outer edge, or is it, or where something else would make a lot more happen?
No, through your worship, great question. And I did include a section in the report that kind of gave a program outlook and financial considerations. We've been very fortunate. We've had a lot of activity, and we've been able to fund it year to year. We've come close where we've had to dip into our reserves. And we are concerned because of the level of approvals and applications that we see, that we could come to a point where, we might hit a pinch point. I'm not so much of the opinion that we should be expanding it. Rather, I'm of the opinion that we should take a look at it and maybe try to rein some more objectives or policy objectives into it. Specifically, what I suggested here in the report is maybe look at coming back with a future report to council that maybe looks at, for some developments that are, yes, they're adding new housing stock to our community, which is critically important. But when we get into some high density or even medium density developments that don't hit those triggers of what the CIP was intended to hit in terms of spurring development in brownfield sites and adding affordable units, then maybe what we can do is roll back some of those incentives for those programs so that it doesn't exhaust the funds that could be allocated to some of those ones that do include affordable units and that do involve the cleanup and redevelopment of some of our brownfield sites. So that's where in my opinion, where I'd see it. In terms of some areas where maybe we might want to look at expanding some of the programs, I'd certainly love to look at, and I'm happy to come back to council to see if there's anything that we can do to create greater incentives than they're already in our program, to incite some further development potential along Talbot Street, particularly in some of those storefronts and units above those storefronts. I'd love to see more activity there. So I think that's an area where we might want to look at expanding some of the program initiatives. But I'm happy to bring back a report to council that sort of highlights some directions that we could possibly move in.
Sounds like a great idea, Lou. And if we can incentive in places where we most want to see the development, as you mentioned, the downtown, then great. We can move CIP just slightly to accomplish some of the things council wants as a whole. So we can expect to hear back from you on this. It's great. Let's do it. Further questions or comments? Councillor Baldwin-Sands.
I fully support that type of initiative by the planning department. I think it's a great idea. We've already had people scratching the surface on some of those items and would like to see it fully developed. Thank you for bringing it forward.
Yeah. Councillor Kohler.
Thanks, Your Worship. I love that. I think any good plan, you come back and you readjust it, and I love how we're going to target it. It's kind of funny when we look back to when we first brought the CIP in, the whole main thing was about the downtown, and now we're looking at reverting back to that again. But I'd also like to see other things like what Councillor Clark's talking about, incentivizing for seniors homes and different things like that, senior units, and how we can work on that. But I also wanted to look at this because a lot of people think that we're just handing money out and doing that. But when you look at not only the 55 new residential units, but the 10.18 million in new investment that eventually is going to start coming back to the city in those expanded tax dollars that way too. So I look forward to those suggestions coming back and how we revamp this, because now we should start being really choosy on who does get these grants and loans.
Super. Further, Councillor Reimel?
Just to encourage, just to make sure that as far as communication, that people are aware of the program, because I know just from the Heritage Committee, you know, someone's doing a repair and we're suggesting, well, why don't you try and get some funds from CIP? They knew nothing about it. So it's just, you know, finding the best way to make sure people are aware of the program.
And you're right, Councillor Reimel, there's a crossover between Heritage and CIP, and some sit on each, but we sometimes assume the citizens know more than we do, or at least as much as we do. So again, we're doing a greater job of transparency and telling people what programs we have out there for available, but sounds like we can still do more, because there's people that still do not know what we have that can still work in their neighborhood. Further questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Carried. Lou, looking forward to hearing back.
Thank you, Your Worship. That's all for that committee. Next committee is Community Engagement and Services. 3 items tonight. First item is the Old Courthouse Neighborhood Street Party Road Closure Request 2026. And a motion that reads that report ES 2326 relating to the Old Courthouse Neighborhood Street Party Road Closure Request 2026 be received for information. And further, that council authorize the closure of Prince Albert Street between Metcalf and Isabel from 4 p.m. to 11:59 p.m. on Saturday, June 27, 2026, to allow for the Courthouse Neighborhood Street Party. Moved by Councillor Wookie, seconded by Councillor Reimel.
Questions or comments on the courthouse party? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
Thank you, Your Worship. Second item tonight relates to the St. Thomas Chamber Community Block Party request for road closure. A motion that reads that report ES 2426 relating to the St. Thomas Chamber Community Block Party request for road closure be received for information. And further, that council authorize the closure of Curtis Street between Mondamon Street and St. Catherine Street from 5 p.m. to 11:30 p.m. Friday, June 19th, 2026, to allow for the St. Thomas Chamber Community Block Party. Moved by Councillor Gibson, seconded Councillor Herbert.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
Thank you, Your Worship. Third item under this committee is an item relating to a vacant building registry, and a motion that reads that report FD 0626 relating to the vacant building registry be received for information. And further, that council direct administration to draft a bylaw regulating standards for unoccupied buildings, which will be referred to as the vacant building registry bylaw. Moved by Councillor Kohler, seconded by Councillor Baldwin-Sands.
Questions or comments? Councillor Kohler?
Thanks, Your Worship. I want to thank you and staff for bringing this forward. This is going to be a great report. Looking forward to everything that's going to happen with this, and hopefully a great incentive for people to keep their buildings full, but rather than leaving them vacant. So Chief, thanks a lot for the work that you and your department's done with this to make sure that it happens. And I think other than that, one thing that I'd like to ask, and it'd be more at the treasurer, I think, than you, because yours really includes everything here, especially for public safety and all of that. And I see a huge incentive for owners wanting to keep it hopefully occupied or get rid of it, because there's going to be a cost to it now for leaving it vacant, but also for a safety factor for the city for doing that. These buildings that are vacant, is there a tax reduced rate for them sitting vacant?
Thank you, Your Worship. There is no vacancy rebate anymore at the city.
Right.
That is
something this council actually did about 7 years ago.
Well, and that's what I remember there. So I just wanted to make sure that that was still in place and we're doing that. And I think on top of this, and I think Councillor Taylor's looking forward to this, along with the work that we're doing here with the fire department and then with the DDB on top of it, pretty soon it's not going to be feasible for these people to leave these buildings vacant with the new added DDB levy hopefully going onto there soon, and as well as these inspection charges. So Chief, thanks a lot, and Adam, your worship, for all the work that's been put into this.
Chief? I'll let you give a little bit of what we're attempting to accomplish here, but I see our fire inspector in the back of the room who really triggered a lot of this about 3 or 4 weeks ago when she visited the DDB meeting and talked about what maybe another community was doing, and can we get there too? So Chief, you and I talked about it and we'll take credit. Go. Yeah.
Thanks, Your Worship, and thanks for the kind words, Councilor Kohler. And, Kim has talked about this for a long time, and then when it was brought up through a council meeting, we thought this is a great time to bring it to everyone's attention, bring it to the forefront. And this really helps us in a lot of ways, through how it looks in our municipality when a building's updated, kept clean, boarded up properly. And it also helps us in our fire prevention team when we need to go somewhere and to possibly go into a building, knowing who the new tenants are, key holders, what may be in some of these buildings. And we always use, the 3 o'clock in the morning incident, when we get a call at 3 o'clock in the morning, going to a vacant building, what are we getting into? What hazards are in there? What may be happening? And back in my days in fire prevention, we came across spots where we didn't know that there was certain things going on in these buildings unbeknownst to us at the time. So this is huge for us. And when we create a bylaw, we'll bring Lou's team into some of the property standards pieces, and we'll just piggyback off what other municipalities have done to capture this properly and make it work for the city of St. Thomas.
Super. Further question. I have Councillor Baldwin-Sands, then Councillor Herbert.
Thank you. I feel that Talbot Street is our shared heritage for all members of our community. And it ties into some of our previous reports with the CIP that we do, layering of other incentives and programming that we have. And I've, in the past, advocated for a vacant land tax. So seeing something that's structured around that has been very, I'm grateful to see that there. And making sure that absentee landlords know that St. Thomas is a place where we actually do care about our heritage, our built heritage, and the people that are living in them. And the point that you made about not knowing how the structure was, I remember our fire prevention officer on a local television station previously after a fire in our downtown where there was so much that they didn't know about the floor plan of the building and all of the changes that were made. So keeping people safe is of the utmost with this report as well. And I fully endorse it. Thank you. And I thank you for working cooperatively with the other city departments to make sure that this comes forward.
Perfect. Councillor Herbert?
Thank you, Worship. It's an interesting report for me. Is it easy? I have a couple of questions, but is it easy for a vacant property to fall through the cracks? What is the time frame someone has to say my property is vacant? That's my first question.
I'll let Kim speak to that, but what you said before is just that piece of us knowing, like, we don't have enough resources to check every building in the city. Our fire prevention team is doing a great job getting through all the buildings on Talbot Street right now, but there's so many buildings, and then to go down to one end and then come back to the other, you're starting again. So, and then you reach out to the extremities of all those other buildings that are vacant and trying to get into those too. So I'll let Chief Fire Prevention Officer Destin speak to the other piece of that.
All right. Well, it's great. We're going all the way to the top. Kim?
So typically in these bylaws, it's a 30 days because as we know, vacancy can be a very fluid thing. There could be people in and out, coming and going. So typically in these bylaws, it's a 30 days. After 30 days, that's when they have a duty to notify whoever's keeping that record. So whether that's property standards, whether that's us or whatever, it's a 30-day thing. And then once that 30-day mark, if they haven't, then we would, then as we come across them, as building comes across them, that's when we flag them and do further deep dive to find out how long they've been vacant.
Thank you. So what would your definition of vacant be? What determines vacant? I mean, to fall under these guidelines. Maybe they've got stuff in there and they're not saying they're vacant, or is there a definition for vacant? Thank you.
Well, and there is a definition of vacant in a lot of these bylaws, and that's something we'll kind of hash out as we develop the bylaw. But there is, there's a lot of buildings up downtown that they're going to say we're storing something in them, right? But it has to do with people coming in and out. There's a whole bunch of variables, but that's something that's already written into a lot of these bylaws. So we'll be able to take what we like from a bunch of them and define that rate down so that we're not guessing. It's a defined term.
So you're working on that now, putting it, okay, thank you.
Hey, we're not going to recreate the world here. Others have come forward ahead of us in other municipalities. We're going to try and look at all their bylaws to see what is working best and what isn't working somewhere else. So Kim, thank you for bringing that to us. It's moved very quickly since we had that first discussion, so I'm really quite pleased to see it already at council. Nobody else moves this fast. Way to go. Councillor Kohler, then Councillor Rymal.
Thanks, Your Worship. I meant to ask this before, like, is there going to be a further report, like once we get the registry built, on how, like, I know the financial component says none here, but my anticipation is that it'll be full cost recovery plus, so it is a hindrance to leave it. So is there going to be a future report coming forward with how much the fees are going to be, the inspection fees, how often it's going to happen, so we can put a dollar figure to this? And how will it be collected? Through the taxes or?
Sure. Treasurer says yes. No.
Through you, Your Worship, to Councillor Kohler, yes, that'll be a follow-up report on this. We're just looking for direction for council to create a bylaw, and then we'll capture all the pieces we need in there, and then we'll develop a fee structure. And again, like the mayor said, we can capture what other municipalities and then work with Treasury and how we collect that and what that looks like. That's, those pieces are way beyond what I do in a day. So with Adam's help and everybody else's help, we can put this together and make it spectacular for our city.
So Chief, you're not planning to go door to door with a big briefcase and collect?
Hey, if that works, it works.
You have others to do. Oh, it's incredible. Councillor Rymal.
Yeah, I think if you have to go door to door, that's okay. But anyway, just because it's vacant doesn't mean that it's safe. It should be. So I just think it's a wonderful idea, and as much teeth as you can put in it and make the bylaw as clear. Like how often you'll be entering buildings, right? Like it's not just so, I've been in a building in Talbot Street with no stairs, it was like, how do you, if something happened, how would you get there? So some of the issues are quite extreme. So being able to have something where, people are notified, whether you notified them to the tax roll, this is our plan, we're going to look at these buildings and, you clearly got the frequency of how you're going to do. If there's an issue, you have so many days to comply. If not, then what the consequence. So it's just as clear and, as you say, prescribed frequencies, as prescriptive as you can make it, so that's very clear. I think it'll be great.
Councillor Wookie.
Thanks, Your Worship. Quick question. So Kim goes into a building and sees certain things. What is this like in terms of sharing information with police services? Because I'm thinking they want to know about this as well for the safety of their members and for what might be going on. Is that something that they would be informed of, or just be as needed to know? Like, how widely will this information, this registry, be disseminated within? Obviously, property standards is going to want to know this, So, but I specifically, what is our legal situation with sharing this with the police? Thank you.
So because the information would be collected by the city as a means to having a vacant building in the city. So if you're going to have a vacant building, essentially you have to allow us to do these inspections annually, and that will be the fire department, the building department, property standards will be involved. We've also had discussion about the city police being involved, but that's information that we hold. So we are able to share that with city police because it's a health and safety thing for them as well, right? Somebody goes in there and they've got squatters or something, they want to go in and ensure it's safe, they have to know if there's a giant hole in the floor, just the same as firefighters would. So we'd be free to share that information throughout the departments.
We heard last week about another cross-department type of cooperation. It's great to see us doing that at a lot of different departments in our community now, and sharing that information when it doesn't only pertain to fire. Building, I'm sure, would love to hear what you're finding in places too. So perfect. Further questions or comments? Can't wait for this to get done. All those in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
Thank you, Your Worship.
Next item tonight is one item under the Infrastructure and Civic Operations Committee. This is an item pertaining to ice resurfacer replacement award. Motion that reads that report ES 2226 relating to the ice resurfacers replacement award be received for information. And further, that council accepts the tender submitted by Resurface Corp in the amount of $264,950 excluding HST for the purchase of 2 replacement ice resurfacers as specified in tender submission 2026-035, moved by Councillor Gibson, seconded by Councillor Reimel.
Questions or comments? Councillor Gibson.
Thank you, Your Worship. And I was really excited when I seen that the funding allocation, the purchase actually was $70,000 under the allocation. Is that monies that we can move to another location in reserve funds or another project that we wanted to do but couldn't do unless we had the extra money? And again, thank you. That's awesome. $70,000. The allocation was much difference. I appreciate that.
It's always nice if we can find a deal. So, Mr. Treasurer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's certainly within council's ability to allocate those funds to whichever project it chooses. My general recommendation would be to hold off on that for a couple of reasons. The first being our reserves are generally low as they stand, so it would be helpful to have that little bit of extra money in them. Also, you haven't seen my second point is you haven't seen the running tally of all of our tendered projects yet. And so staff's going to prepare a report of all our tender results and we'll kind of add up. It's a good net result, but you might want that information before you start allocating money to new projects.
I'm with you. I don't like spending it till I'm sure we've saved it. Councillor Clark.
Thank you, Your Worship. I was just interested in whether or not there's a heaven for old resurfacing machines. What happens to the old ones? Can we trade them in? Do we sell them off for parts, or do they just rust somewhere?
Who's my answer on this? Kevin? All right.
Through the mayor to Councillor Clark, similar to any surplus vehicle, we'll put it onto like Gov Deals and see if anybody else wants to take it off our hands. Some may just want to use it for scrap metal. I'm not entirely sure what their use might be, but we do to see if there's any salvage value from that. And it's usually after the new unit's delivered, so it usually takes a bit of time before we get to that process.
So the Hockey Hall of Fame doesn't want our used ice resurfacers? Something from the city of St. Thomas, you would think. Councillor Herbert?
Thank you, Worship. Well, I thought it was interesting that we're buying 2. Does that mean the other 2 are no longer workable? What's the life expectancy of these units? Do you just replace them in 10 years, both at the same time? Is that what's going to happen here? I would just assume we'd be replacing one, but now we're replacing both. Does that mean they're both not workable? The old ones that we have along?
I
don't know.
I believe we have experts in this field. So Kevin, can you help us with that?
Yeah, so this was a 2025 capital item. And so at that time, there were 2 units identified for replacement. It's not necessarily just built on the number of years that the unit was in service. It's also influenced by the teams that are using the apparatus to understand what the deficiencies are. Mechanics also take a look at it as well. So sometimes things can get pushed out, which we like to do to try to reduce our needs in any capital year, but sometimes other units need to come forward. And so that's what happened in 25. We needed to replace 2 units at that time, and we're just getting around to the procurement.
Okay. Further questions? Councillor Reimel.
This is just a question. I see the brand is Olympia. I thought they were all Zambonis.
That's what they're all called. But Olympia got into the market quite a while ago now, right? And so I guess we can hold one against the other, 2 different companies making the same type of equipment. Am I right on that, Kevin? I'm not the expert on ice surfacing machines. So.
There are, I think, about 3 players in the market, and we received 1 bid, so we're a little perplexed why we only received 1 bid, but we're happy that we received a bid.
Great. And a fairly good one, it looks like. So great. Further questions or comments on the ice resurfacing machines? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
Thank you, Your Worship. There's nothing from the Corporate Governance and Administrative Committee tonight, so council will now reconvene into regular session and report out from Committee of the Whole. Motion that reads the recommendations, directions, and actions of council in Committee of the Whole as recorded in the minutes of this date be confirmed, ratified, and adopted. Moved by Councillor Reimel, seconded by Councillor Clark.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Are there any opposed? That's carried.
Thank you, Your Worship. Now move on to communications. First item of communications is Orange Shirt Day, September 30, 2026, proclamation, flag raising, and jumbo lighting. A request has been received from Amanda Stark and Betty Jean Phillips Budden. We are here, St. Thomas, that council proclaims September 30th, 2026 as Orange Shirt Day in the city of St. Thomas, and that the Every Child Matters flag be flown and that the jumbo monument be lit in orange for the day. The motion would read that the council of the city of St. Thomas proclaims September 30th, 2026 as Orange Shirt Day in the city of St. Thomas, and further that the Every Child Matters flag be flown at the city hall on September 30th, 2026, and further that the jumbo monument be lit in orange on September 30th, 2026 in recognition of Orange Shirt Day. Moved by Councillor Baldwin Sands, seconded by Councillor Herbert.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Are there any opposed? Carried.
Thank you, Your Worship. Second item of communications tonight is relating to the Elgin County Pride Week. It's July 20th to 25th, 2026. Proclamation, flag raising, and jumbo lighting. A request has been received from Devon Church, co-chair, Elgin County Pride, that council proclaim July 20th to 25th, 2026 as Pride Week in the city of St. Thomas, that the progressive pride flag be flown for the week, and that the jumbo monument be lit in pink the week of June 8th to 15th, 2026 in recognition of Universal Pride Month. The motion reads that the council of the city of St. Thomas proclaim July 20th to 25th, 2026 as Pride Week in the city of St. Thomas, and further that the progressive pride flag be flown at
It is a tornado warning.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. Let me keep my eye on it. I'll turn it on.
I'll start the motion again, Your Worship.
Yes, please.
That the council of the city of St. Thomas proclaim July 20th to 25th, 2026 as Pride Week in the city of St. Thomas, and further that the progressive pride flag be flown at City Hall from July 20th to 25th, 2026, and further that the jumbo monument be lit in pink the week of June 8th to 15th, 2026 in recognition of Universal Pride Month. Moved by Councillor Wookie, seconded by Councillor Reimel.
Questions or comments? Councillor Clark.
Yes, I'd like a recorded vote, please.
We can do that, Your Worship.
Yep.
We'll start with Councillor Kohler,
Yes.
Councillor Clark,
Yes.
Councillor Gibson, Councillor Reimel,
Yes.
Councillor Wookie,
Yes.
Councillor Taylor,
Yes.
Councillor Baldwin Sands,
Yes.
Councillor Herbert,
Yes.
Your Worship,
Yes.
motion carries. Through Your Worship, next item relates to Summerfest. This is June 19th to 20th, 2026. Deputation request. A letter has been received from Tina Rahowski, Secretary Treasurer, Summerfest Committee, Columbus Club St. Thomas, requesting a deputation to provide an overview of the club's Summerfest fundraising event. The motion would read that the Council of the City of St. Thomas supports receiving a deputation from the Summerfest Committee of the Columbus Club to provide an overview of the club's Summerfest fundraiser event. Moved by Councillor Herbert, seconded by Councillor Gibson.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, I guess before we vote on, I should say this is a request for a deputation under our current format. They've sent us a request. We tend to, as a council, then say, did we get enough information from them? Or do we need them to send us more information? Or do we want them to come with a deputation? So by voting for this, I'm going to suggest that we're saying, thank you for your information. We like your event, and we won't be needing a further deputation. You okay if I say it that way, or? That's what we've been doing for the last couple of people who have asked for deputation.
Yes, through your worship, the resolution is for a deputation. So they're requesting a deputation come to council. And if council does carry this motion, then they would come to council and formally deputize in front of council.
All right. So if you vote in favor, we're having a deputation. That isn't how we've structured these, and we need to let people know when they send us a letter that this is that we're asking them for information. But I guess since this is written this way, we'll certainly vote. We vote yes, we're having a deputation. So, further questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor? Are there any opposed? That is defeated. We will certainly ask them if they have more information we need to know.
Thank you, your worship. Next item for communications is an item regarding the St. Anne's Festival, temporary extension of liquor license, request for letter of no objection. A letter has been received by Dan Simpson, Festival Committee Chair, St. Anne's Community Festival, requesting that council provide a letter of no objection to the proposed extended licensed area during the St. Anne's Festival to be held June 3rd through 6th, 2026 at the St. Anne's Center, 20 Morrison Drive. Motion to read that the council of the city of St. Thomas has no objection to the proposed extended licensed area from June 3rd to 6th, 2026 for the St. Anne's Festival at 20 Morrison Drive, St. Thomas. Moved by Councillor Clark, seconded by Councillor Reimel.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Are there any opposed? That's carried.
Thank you, your worship. Is there any unfinished business tonight?
Councillor Baldwin-Sands.
I believe this is an item of communication. I noticed on the city's website, and I did go out to notice at a couple of sites about the installation of life-saving equipment at many of our cities, waterways and lakes, et cetera. I was hoping that Adrian will be able to give an update to everyone. It's a project that has been for a very long time important to me personally, so I would like to hear some comments. Thank you.
Perfect. Adrian, I saw some, our communications people putting a bunch of stuff out today, and so please help us.
Thank you, Your Worship. So in remembrance of Ryan Davies, the Parks Department has been working along with the Fire Department and the Life Saving Society and Ryan's mom, Linda King, to help install 9 life-saving stations. So we've got 4 at Lake Margaret, 4 at Waterworks Park, and 1 at Pinafore, which were placed in identified entry points of the waterways. So these include a reaching pole, a life ring, and along with some emergency information signage. I also would like to make note that the Parks and Recreation Department is taking part in a community water safety event that is taking place May 23rd from 1 to 4 p.m. with the Drowning Coalition. They have donated to one of the life-saving stations, so they will be there to speak about aquatic and swim lessons and provide information on the new water safety bylaw, including what it means and why it's important in regards to personal flotation devices and the need to wear them on our waterways.
Excellent. Councillor Clark. That's maybe, go ahead.
There he goes. Had a couple of people asking about the splash pads at Password Park. I think last year we tried to accommodate toward the end of the season, extending the time that it was open till 9 o'clock. And I'm just wondering whether we've established that as a policy for One Password. It was to accommodate soccer players after they were done playing. And I'm just wondering where we're at with that for this year.
Thank you, Councillor Clark. I did note that was mentioned on social media. We do normally keep them open till 9 p.m. We hadn't changed our signage. So I will remind staff of that, and we'll get that information changed to make it a permanent change to 9 p.m.
Would it be all or just One Password?
We'll do all 3 of them. Yeah.
Super. Thank you. Any other new business or unfinished business? Councillor Baldwin-Sands.
Thank you. This is an item of new business. On June 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, we are hosting 16 medical students for Discovery Week. And since there is students coming to our area, and we'll be working not just with people at the hospital, they'll be working with some of our local family doctors. This has been an item that we have really been excelling at the last number of years, and we promise to have yet again another stellar time here in the community of St. Thomas and Elgin in order so that we can showcase. I will ask the city manager if there's any other comments that she would like to make at this time on the event that we are again hosting. Thank you.
Senior Manager?
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you to council. Not a lot to add to that. We're excited for Discovery Week. The Health Recruitment Partnership is it's an annual tradition, and it's a good opportunity for us to engage with the students. Also happy to report that we will have some reports moving forward in June to recommend funding 3 new doctors coming to town. So very exciting times.
A lot of activity happening with your physician recruitment committee, so thank you, Councillor Baldwin-Sands. Further new business or unfinished business? Seeing none, moving on.
Thank you, Your Worship. We have no public notices tonight, no notices of motion, so we'll be moving into a closed session. A motion that reads that this meeting be closed to deal with the proposed pending disposition of land and a position plan procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on by or on behalf of the municipality at 5:50 p.m. Moved by Councillor Rymal, seconded by Councillor Baldwin-Sands.
Thank you. But again, as normal, before we take the vote, I'll let people know we're going into a closed session now. We'll rise from closed session when that business is complete to come back into open session and pass our bylaws and any work that may have been accomplished in our closed session. So thank you in the gallery for joining us tonight. The crowd upstairs has been phenomenally but very well behaved tonight. And for those of you at home, thank you for joining us at home. Time to go out and barbecue. All those in favor of closed session? Any opposed? Carried.
Thank you, Your Worship. We'll now rise back in open session. Motion that reads that council do now rise from closed session at 6:07 p.m. Moved by Councillor Herbert, seconded by Councillor Gibson.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
Thank you, Your Worship. Now we'll do the bylaws. So we have a motion that reads that leave be granted to bring in the bylaws. Moved by Councillor Kohler, seconded by Councillor Clark.
Questions or comments? Seeing none? Oh, sorry, Councillor Baldwin-Sands, you have a expression of interest.
Thank you. I was hoping that you would address that.
Right. So one of the bylaws you will
Number
not be
6.
voting on. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Other than that, all in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
Thank you, Your Worship. We have a motion on the floor moved by Councillor Kohler, seconded by Councillor Clark, that the bylaws now be read a first time, referred to council and the committee of the whole, and read a second time.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
First bylaw, please.
Through Your Worship, the first bylaw today is a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council of the council meeting held on the 19th day of May, 2026.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Next bylaw, please.
Second bylaw tonight is a bylaw to authorize the mayor and clerk to execute and affix the seal of the corporation to a certain agreement between the corporation of the city of St. Thomas and the Canadian Union of Public Employees and its Local 35 outside workers. This is a collective agreement, January 1st, 2025 through December 31st, 2028.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Next bylaw, please.
Third bylaw tonight is a bylaw to authorize the mayor and clerk to execute and affix the seal of the corporation to a certain agreement between the corporation of the city of St. Thomas and Listec International Corporation. This is the Listec process for the water pollution control plant.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Next bylaw, please.
Fourth bylaw tonight is a bylaw to authorize the mayor and clerk to execute and affix the seal of the corporation to a certain agreement between the corporation of the city of St. Thomas and the Elora Center for Environmental Excellence, the Tree Trust.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Next bylaw, please.
Next bylaw is a bylaw to amend bylaw 45-89, being a bylaw to revise and consolidate certain bylaws regulating traffic and the parking of motor vehicles.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Next bylaw, please.
Thank you. The sixth and final bylaw this evening is a bylaw to amend bylaw 50-88, being the zoning bylaw for the city of St. Thomas. This is to permit a temporary use bylaw to allow for the provision of swimming lessons in a backyard pool as a home occupation, subject to specific provisions. This is 21 Phillip Street, Joy Dowdy, file number 20726.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried. I rise and report the successful passing of all 6 bylaws.
Excellent work.
Thank you, Your Worship. For third and final reading, we have a motion on the floor moved by Councillor Kohler, seconded by Councillor Clark, that the report of council and the committee of the whole on the bylaws be received and adopted, and the same be read a third time, engrossed, signed by the mayor and clerk, sealed and numbered.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Are there any opposed? That is carried.
Thank you, Your Worship. Final item tonight is adjournment. Motion that we do now adjourn at 6:11 p.m. Moved by Councillor Baldwin Sands, seconded by Councillor Reimel.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor? Are there any opposed? That's carried. We are adjourned.